Hey everyone, it's Reese here, and I wanted to talk today, and I wanted to do a video that was a bit more freeform. I'm talking about something that, if you're a film fan, you're probably familiar with, and I wanted to offer some reflections on the challenge of 1,000 movies to watch before you die. 1,001, I should say. So this is something you've probably heard of, and you've probably come across these books on the shops, and there are different versions for movies, for TV shows, for books, all these sorts of compendiums. In the film case, these books have been coming out since 2003, and there have been sort of new editions issued throughout that time. They're edited by Stephen J. Schneider, and they're a collection of films that are essential. Going back to the birth of cinema, there are films of cultural, historic importance. They're across genres, they're across time periods, they're across countries. It captures everything from art to popular cinema. It is really kind of essentially a list of, if you wanted to sort of get a sense of cinema as a whole, the kind of things that you should watch. Now, because of the fact that these lists keep getting updated, that new films come out that are sort of considered essential, they change with each iteration. Films are lost, new films come on. So as of now, there have been a total of 1,255 films on these lists. My first engagement with it came when I was on my year abroad. So I went to France, and I was on my year abroad in 2016. I thought this seemed like a fun challenge to do. I was at the time sort of head of my own film review website, and we were reviewing a lot of the sort of the new stuff that came out. But it was a question of, if I wanted to engage with classical films, which films could I watch? The problem is, if you like stuff, you tend to sort of ear towards what you like. I'm a big horror fan, so if I was sort of left to my own devices, if I fancied watching something that I hadn't seen before, I would tend towards a horror film, or an animation film, or I'd tend towards something that I'd already seen. This list and its goals represented to me really a chance to expand my horizons, to sort of try new films. Because if you're after sort of recommendations, a list of sort of the essential films, as it were, it's kind of perfect, right? It's kind of the best possible place to look. I don't remember what total I had when I did it then. The list kind of fell out of my role and fell out of interest for a period. I was finishing my degree, I was starting my masters, I was doing my PhD, and I didn't really revisit it again until sort of towards the end of my PhD. I was struggling a bit with sort of kind of outside of PhD life, struggling a bit with kind of a lot of time to be filled. This was COVID as well, and sort of my own personal sort of levels of sort of enjoyment was sinking a fair bit. And I saw the list really as kind of a motivation technique, that I could look at this, and essentially the inherent sort of completionist nature inside me is that I couldn't sort of do anything. This list is something that had to be completed. If I started the challenge, I had to complete it. I don't like leaving jobs undone. And it was really something that sort of powered me through sort of those PhD lulls, and then sort of something I've continued with up to this day. So it's a chance for me to expand my horizons, a chance for me to sort of have some motivation, and then also a chance really to explore a lot of cinemas that I didn't really know. I know, broadly speaking, Hollywood films. I know French films, that's my area. European films around that. But there are so many countries in the world, and I didn't really know that much about them. And there's nothing sort of wrong with that, right? Obviously, you tend towards the sort of stuff that you see. But if I wanted to watch something from, I don't know, Iranian cinema, for example, I wouldn't know where to start. I wouldn't know what was good, what was bad. I could Google it, but there's no hint of sort of what might be good or what might be a great shout there. So the list is also a great example for me to sort of engage with countries, to engage with genres as well that I don't know, and sort of get recommendations of what are the best or the most important, the most influential films in that selection. And I found that really invaluable. That's been fantastic, in that I know what I tend to, and I know the sort of stuff that I really don't tend to. And this list has been a really useful means for me, essentially keeping an eye on that and getting to try stuff that's outside of my comfort zone, getting to fill those evenings where I would tend towards stuff I'd already seen and actively try something different. Let me give you some numbers. So I say there are 1,255 films, and I'm operating from the complete list. I don't want to sort of have to update and lose stuff with the 1001. To my mind, if anything was important, it's going to be important in my book. So that's where I'm operating. So I'm recording this on December 30th, 2025. And at this moment, I've watched, as of today, I watched most recently The Third Man, 1949. I have watched a nice around 400 of those films. So I'm about a third of the way through. It's been enjoyable thus far. So I think when I started, I was on something like 210, 220-ish films that I'd watched in my own life, films that I'd come across in my studies, a load of sort of essentially everything that was on the film studies modules I did kind of rocked up on these lists, and things that I've just happened to see there and about. But this was a chance for me to really try new stuff, and it's been a great experience. I've watched stuff that I've never heard of, the stuff that I've always meant to watch, and this was kind of the impetus. And I've discovered films that I thought were incredible. I've watched things like The Man with the Red Shoes, a sort of a wonderful British film that I'd never heard of and loved. It was beautiful. It was really, really beautiful. I've seen classic romances. I've seen foreign films. I quite like the Polish Decalogue series. Again, something I would never have come across before. A sort of little morality plays based around the Ten Commandments. And it's a fantastic thing. It's a real novelty when you're as engaged in the world of film as I am, both in terms of study and general interest, to be able to sit down to stuff that you don't know anything about, to be able to sort of experience new stuff, in many cases without any knowledge whatsoever, and to actually sit there and get to experience some of these films with no knowledge, to get to experience them as a totally new viewer, and to fall in love with them or not, as is the case, but to get to try something new. I think that's sort of a really invaluable thing, and something I've really, really enjoyed, really appreciated. This is not to say, though, that the list has been without its challenges. So I'm conscious that I have the list. I have a paper form. I have a form on Letterboxd as well, that I will put in the link below that I'm following. It's not my own list. It's one that I sort of subscribe to, but it's really, really useful. There are things that I'm not looking forward to. I'm not typically a fan of war films. I've watched a few. Some I've enjoyed, some that are found as tedious as anything. I don't overly enjoy fantasy stuff. And I'm conscious that there are films coming up on this list that do not seem to me as though they are going to appeal to me in the slightest. I'm happy to be surprised. I go into all these films with an open mind. And I'm trying to sort of spread them out so I don't just sort of cluster everything that I don't overly want to watch right at the end. But I'm aware there are things on the list that I'm not going to enjoy, because I know myself. And this is a challenge, a list of 1,200 films. I'm not going to enjoy all of them. There are some that I've hated. There are some that has been really tedious, really boring, and I've not enjoyed. Some of the art films, a lot of art films I've seen, clearly this is not something that speaks to me. I've discovered this now, and I watched now the famous Wavelength, a film that is sort of often touted by people who do this challenge as one of the worst films they've seen, and some of the films around that. Was it one there, Flaming Creatures? Was that the sort of an art film as well? So things like that I'm not looking forward to. I've seen those ones, there are more like that on the list, that I know are coming, that I'm not interested in particularly, which I will watch with an open mind, but I'm dreading watching. A couple of this, there are the long films. There are long films on this list. So I watched the longest one, the documentary Shoah. It's a documentary about the Holocaust, focusing on sort of its memory, focusing on sort of the lives of people, when it was filmed, and sort of memories. It was thankfully aired in 2 parts, so I watched the 2 parts on separate days. But there are films on this list that are sort of 5, 6, 7 hours long, and I'm dreading that. I really struggle with films that are so long. Really, anything past about 2.5 hours is a push. And watching that much I like to watch films in one sitting if I can. So I'm dreading knowing that there are these sort of monster-length films coming up. Again, they might be brilliant, but it's a hard sell. Let me say that. Some of these films are hard sells. They may be brilliant, and I may enjoy having seen them when I've seen them, but going into them, they're hard sells that I'm not particularly anticipating. And then lastly, the challenge that has really caught me of access. Some of these films I can't actually find to watch at the moment. I'm lucky in that I work in a university, and we have quite a considerable film library in terms of online databases we can access, in terms of actual physical DVDs, VHS tapes on the premises. But some of the films I've wanted to watch and not yet been able to find a way to actually watch them. This is something that I keep my eyes on. I sort of scan the schedules. I've sort of set up email alerts when these films are going to be aired on streaming platforms, etc. But as is the case, sort of thinking of films that are English language, films that have aired over here quite a lot, easy, really. Particularly the foreign films, many of the older films, are quite hard to find. And so that is something that will come into play, no doubt. I'm conscious that there are Reddit forums for people who are doing this challenge. Again, I'm going to share a link in case you're interested. And I found some handy pointers there, and I'm going to sort of peruse there as I look. Yes, this is the plan. So I just wanted to offer some of these thoughts, and I think this is a challenge that's worth doing, especially if you're a film fan, especially if you're someone who likes trying new things. I can't promise every film will be brilliant, because it won't. There will be some that speak to you, and there will be some that don't. There will be some that bore you. There will be some that you thought you'd hate and love. Some you thought you'd love that you'll hate. It's a massive mix. But I think really it's one of the most exciting endeavours we can do is to push ourselves, to always sort of try new things, to sort of explore, to think about new things, to experience new stories, new cultures, new forms of storytelling. And this list is one of the best ways yet that I've found of doing that. And it enables me to sort of see cultures throughout it's a near 125 year time frame across the world. And that is an amazing, incredible thing. If you're interested in following my quest, as it were, my Letterboxd link is down below. It's down there. You can follow me and see sort of up-to-date versions of what I'm watching. I'm also going to discuss these videos in my monthly roundup, so please do listen there to see what films I've seen that month off the list and what I thought of them. I will flag them as films off the list when I do. If you're interested in taking on the challenge, if it's something you've tried, if it's something you're currently trying, if it's something you don't want to try, please do comment below and let me know. If you've tried it and saw something that really caught your eye, that you never thought you'd like, but you watched because of this list, again, comment below. I'd love to hear these stories. I'd love to hear from people who've done this challenge or not, because it seems to be a very popular thing online. And I'd love to hear people share their experiences, their stories. I'm going to do periodic updates of my own. Let's see if I can get to... let's see if I can get halfway in by the end of 2026. What's that, 250-ish films to go? Can we do it? Can we do it? I don't know, let me see. But I'm going to end this sort of slightly freeform ramble. Thank you very much for listening to this, if you have listened to this. And make sure to make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos on academic content, on film content, and make sure to ring a bell so you know when new videos come. Thank you very, very much for watching this. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next one.